You have started to offer Barf natural food to your cat, and now he runs around the house, meows nonstop, or even seems too agitated. Calm. This has an explanation, and it may be one of the most incredible signs that his body is finally waking up. In this revealing video, you will understand why many cats exhibit strange behaviors after starting the Barf diet, how the digestive system and feline brain reconnect with nature, the behavioral transition phases of natural food, what functional ingredients can help balance behavior, and how to turn mealtime into a moment of bonding and emotional well-being. If you love your cat and want the best for her, with science, affection, and safety, this video is for you. Discover how wild instinct can be your greatest ally in your feline's health and happiness. Watch until the end and see the difference with your own eyes. He was always calm. He slept a good part of the day, stretched out in the sun, purred when he received affection. But for some time now, something has changed. It was enough to finish eating to transform into another animal. Intense meows, running around the house, jumping on the couch, and sometimes even destructive behavior. At first it seemed funny. Maybe he's just excited about the food, they thought, but the frequency has increased. So is the intensity, and it soon became clear that this was not just energy. It was a warning. This type of behavior is more common than it seems among domestic cats, and almost always, the explanation lies where no one imagines, in the food bowl. Today's video is a deep, realistic, and urgent dive into what is behind post-meal outbreaks in felines, especially when there is a change in diet or introduction of raw natural food such as the Barf model. And if you are a cat owner, get ready. A lot of things that seem normal may be telling you that your feline is in mild sensory, digestive, or neurological collapse. Before judging the behavior as a tantrum or play, it's critical to understand what's going on inside your cat's body after each meal. And for that, we need to start at the base, how feline digestion works. Unlike dogs, cats are obligate carnivores. This means that your digestive system has evolved to deal exclusively with animal-based proteins. They don't need, and often don't tolerate well, excess carbohydrates, starches, cereals, or plant fiber. However, most commercial feeds, even those considered premium, contain high amounts of these components, used as binders, preservatives, or simply to make production cheaper. And what does this cause? A chronic inflammatory effect. The cat's body starts to work harder to digest what was not made for it to digest. Energy that should go to brain and muscle activity is diverted to cope with gastrointestinal discomfort. And when he finally eats something close to what the body recognizes as natural, such as a raw diet rich in fresh meat, organs, and bones, the body responds with a mixture of relief and overwhelm. And that's where behavior changes. Barf, biologically appropriate raw food, offers a food of high digestibility, fast absorption, and direct stimulation to the senses. The actual chewing, the smell of raw meat, the presence of blood, all of this triggers areas of the brain that have been dormant for years. But as with any system that has been in hibernation, activation can be abrupt, uncoordinated, and even chaotic at first. Imagine a muscle that has been atrophied for a long time. When it is used again, it hurts, trembles, reacts unpredictably. With the gut and brain of cats, the principle is the same. And when given real food, and not a processed extract, the body reacts. In the first days of the transition, it is common for the tutor to observe changes in behavior, sleep, vocalization, and even agitation. This is not a negative side effect. It is a return effect. The body is relearning how to function as it was designed to function. But there is a point of attention. If Barf is introduced incorrectly with nutrient imbalance, excess fat, or lack of intestinal adaptation, the side effects can become permanent. Agitation can turn into anxiety. Hyperactivity can become a compulsion. And what started as a natural process of transition can turn into a cycle of constant discomfort. Therefore, before changing your cat's diet, it is essential to understand what, how, and why to offer a certain food. Not everything that is natural is safe, and not every raw diet is automatically beneficial. The key is in the balanced composition, the pace of introduction, and, above all, the daily observation of behavior. A cat that runs around the house after eating may be saying, "My body's reacting, but I still don't know how to deal with it." At this point, many tutors feel lost. They think they made a mistake. They think about going back to the feed. But the truth is that this moment of transition is one of the most important in the animal's life. And it is at this moment that the tutor needs to understand, support, and adjust, and not give up. Most owners who report abrupt changes in behavior after starting Barf feeding their cats have something in common. They have introduced the right ingredients, but in the wrong way. Imagine a feline's brain as a sensor center, always on alert to protect, react, and survive. When he consumes ultra-processed foods for years, these sensors become dull. Taste loses precision, smell becomes accustomed to artificial scents, and the gut stops producing specific enzymes, such as those that digest raw meat or offal. So when the diet changes to something more instinctive, the body feels it, sometimes even too much. For example, raw liver, one of the most popular ingredients in the Barf diet, is a nutritional bomb. Rich in vitamins A, B12, iron, and choline, it acts directly on the central nervous system. When offered in excess or without the proper adaptation interval, it can cause energy spikes that manifest as motor agitation, exaggerated vocalization, and obsessive behavior, such as running in circles or compulsively licking objects in the house. Raw eggs, when used unchecked, increase biotin intake, but they also contain avidin, which can interfere with nutrient absorption. This creates a paradox. The cat seems turbocharged in the first few days, but soon develops mood swings, hair loss, or even episodes of lethargy after the bouts of hyperactivity. Another ingredient that is often misunderstood is raw fish. Although it contains omega-3s, when used frequently without prior freezing or balancing with other foods, it can cause thiamine, vitamin B1 deficiency, which directly affects the brain. The result? Bizarre behaviors, such as attacks on shadows, fixating on body parts, or exaggerated responses to common sounds. But it's not just the ingredients that influence behavior. The way the food is served also counts. Many owners deliver the Barf diet directly chilled from the fridge without bringing it to room temperature. This impacts digestion and can generate reactions of immediate discomfort, leading the animal to run, hide, or act erratically minutes after eating. In addition, there is the issue of predatory instinct. Barf, being composed of real meats with fibrous textures, reactivates the natural hunting instinct. This is positive, but when activated abruptly, especially in cats that have never had access to nature, it can become a trigger for behavioral frustration. The cat feels that it has hunted, but it has not hunted. He chewed, but he didn't chase, and this break between action and instinct can generate unexpected emotional outbursts. Therefore, it is recommended that during the first days of the transition to Barf, the tutor introduces the food in controlled, silent environments with long intervals between one meal and another. It is during this period that the animal's body is redesigning its metabolic response, and any interference can disrupt this process. A good transition protocol includes: lightly cook the first foods, gradually reducing the time until you reach the complete raw. Avoid offering liver for the first 7 days. Heat the meat in a double boiler until it reaches room temperature before serving. Introduce fleshy bones only after the 3rd week. Watch for signs such as tremors in the hind legs, very dilated eyes, accelerated breathing after a meal, or ambush behavior without external stimulus. These signs don't mean the diet is wrong. They are like lights on the dashboard of a new car. They inform, guide, and help adjust. It is worth remembering that each cat is its own universe. Some will adapt in 2 days, others will need 3 weeks. But in all cases, the transition only works when it is done with awareness, presence, and listening. Because deep down, what most unbalances an animal is not the new food. It is the absence of attention during the process. Contrary to what many imagine, a cat's agitated behavior after the Barf meal is not a diet error. It is a call from the body, an attempt by the organism to reorganize itself in the face of a new biological scenario. The central issue, therefore, is not to stop the diet, but to conduct adaptation wisely. In recent decades, feline food has moved so far away from the natural that simply returning to instinct requires a relearning phase. Cats fed dry food for years lose not only specific digestive enzymes, but also the behavioral flexibility that nature requires to handle fresh protein, animal fat, and natural fiber. Therefore, one of the most effective strategies to stabilize behavior is to reintroduce the cat's natural routine, with breaks, sensory stimulation activities, and above all, an effective bond with the tutor during the meal. One of the best practices is to divide Barf food into small portions throughout the day, mimicking the pattern of hunting and wild feeding. Instead of offering everything at once, the tutor can serve it at 3 different times, creating the feeling of achievement with each serving. This reduces stress while also teaching the body how to dose the release of energy. Another powerful technique is to associate the moment of feeding with a gentle interaction, such as brushing, touching, or speaking quietly. Food, in this case, becomes not only nourishment, but affection. This regulates levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and reconditions the cat's brain to understand food as part of a safe and balanced experience. In addition, some specific ingredients help reduce episodes of hyperactivity during the transition to Barf. Chicken, or beef heart, rich in taurine, essential for neuromuscular regulation and emotional balance. It should be served raw, fresh, and in moderate quantity, no more than 10% of the total serving. Cold-pressed sardine oil provides DHA and EPA, fatty acids with a calming action on the nervous system, 2 or 3 drops in the meal are enough. Sugar-free and lactose-free natural yogurt promotes balance of the intestinal microbiota, which in turn directly influences mood and behavior. It can be used in small amounts twice a week. Chamomile tea, warm and in drops, can be mixed with small portions of food to induce tranquility, but always with veterinary supervision. The tutor can also resort to interactive toys during feeding time. For example, hiding small portions of the raw diet in different parts of the house, as a hunting simulation, reduces compulsive behaviors and increases the feeling of emotional satiety. The most important thing, however, is to understand that this process is not linear. There will be days when the cat looks crazy again. Others where you will be calmer. Balance is built with consistency, not haste. And perhaps the biggest gain of those who choose Barf for their cat is not only in physical health. It is in the silent transformation that occurs in the bond between tutor and feline. One starts to observe the other more closely. The routine changes. The silence between them begins to speak more. Food becomes a bridge, and the house, once a scene of haste and obligations, gains moments of true presence. At the end of the day, when your cat runs after eating, he's saying something. And now, with that knowledge in hand, you have the right tools to listen. Because what seemed like madness, it was just nature finding its way.